Let's talk about the housing market in California. Or, maybe we shouldn't even call it a market anymore. A pretty startling new report has some of the top economists using words you'd expect to hear in a history class, not a real estate briefing. And in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly why. I mean, just check this out. This is from Redfin's chief economist, Daryl Fairweather. After looking at the latest data, she said California doesn't have a housing market, but a caste system defined by family wealth. Wow, that's a pretty heavy term to throw around when you're talking about real estate, and it really sets the stage for what's going on. And it's not just her. Arpit Gupta, a finance professor at NYU, took it even a step further, saying the state has reinvented feudalism. Feudalism? A caste system? I mean, what on earth is in this data that's making these experts reach for words straight out of another century? Okay, so let's get right to it. Let's look at the evidence. At the heart of this whole explosive conversation is one single, really shocking statistic. Here it is. 18%. According to the data, 18%, that's nearly 1 in every 5 of all the homes that changed hands in California last year did so through an inheritance, not a sale. They were passed down. And if that percentage doesn't sound huge, think about it this way. We're talking about nearly 60,000 homes. And this isn't just some random blip on the radar. It's a record high for California, looking at all the data we have going back to the mid-90s. The trend here is undeniable. And here's where it gets really wild. When you put California's number up against the rest of the country, it's not even close. That 18% rate is literally double the national average, which is sitting around 9%. So this isn't just a nationwide trend that's a little hotter in California. This is something else entirely. So the big question is, why? Why is this happening in California so dramatically? Well, analysts are all pointing their fingers at one specific and very powerful state tax policy. And that policy is the famous, or maybe infamous, Proposition 13. To put it simply, Prop 13 puts a major cap on property taxes. Your tax bill gets pretty much locked in based on what you paid for the house, not what it's worth today. So the longer you own the home, the more your tax bill gets disconnected from reality. It just stays artificially low. And you can see how this creates this unbelievable advantage over generations. Just imagine a family buys a home back in the 1980s. For decades, their property tax stays super low while home values go to the moon. When their kids inherit that house, now worth millions, they don't just inherit the property. They inherit that tiny frozen-in-time tax bill right along with it. But wait, there's more. Seriously, the deal gets even sweeter for the heirs. Not only do they get that low tax bill if they decide to keep the house, but they also dodge a huge tax hit if they decide to sell it. They can turn around, sell that inherited property, and because of California law, they avoid paying capital gains taxes on all that profit. It's a massive financial windfall with almost no tax liability. Okay, so we've got the what, and we've got the why. But what about the so what? What does this all actually mean for the average person who's just trying to buy their first home? Well, the direct result is that these incredible tax breaks create a massive incentive for people to never sell their homes. As that same economist, Daryl Fairweather, put it, people hold on to their homes until their dying breath. And you can see why. But the huge knock-on effect is that it absolutely starves the market of houses for sale, making supply incredibly tight for everyone else. And what you end up with are two completely separate, totally unequal paths to owning a home in California. On one path, you've got the inheritor, they get the house, the tiny tax bill, and a tax-free sale if they want it. And on the other path, you've got the first-time buyer. They're facing a ridiculously small number of homes, brutal competition for every single one, and if they win, they get hit with a massive tax bill based on today's sky-high prices. And this right here is why we started with those shocking quotes. When you see it all laid out like this, side by side, you really start to get why experts are reaching for words like caste system and feudalism. Listen to how M. Nolan Gray from the advocacy group California YIMBY puts it. He says the state has created an untaxed hereditary landed gentry. He's basically arguing that California has accidentally created a new kind of nobility, where your family line gives you a multi-million-dollar head start that almost no one else can possibly compete with. So, if we boil this all down, the core argument from these analysts is pretty simple. In California, family wealth, not a great job or years of hard work, is fast becoming the main way people own a home.
And that idea really challenges the state's whole identity as a land of opportunity, creating this deep, deep divide.
And all of this leaves us with one really big and kind of uncomfortable final question. For generations, the whole idea of the California dream was that anyone could show up and build a better life. But if inheriting property becomes a dominant path to stability and wealth, what does that actually mean for the future of that dream?